Hi everybody. Recently we have made some changes to the ability to save the selected columns or the columns that the user wants to see. I want to introduce you to these changes and also show you the code changes that we've done in case you're using an older version of our framework and you want to add it to your own. So this is Northwind, and here we have the customer grid, which is the way it looks immediately after the migration, but with us turning on the facelift. To turn on the facelift, it's very simple. We have done this line of code over here that enables us to turn on the facelift to the entire application. Now, there are several things that comes into play. First, you can see that the column list, I can select the columns that I want to see here, but you can also remove a column by just saying hide column, which I think is a bit more usable than the column selection list. Furthermore, now the column selection list is sensitive to visible properties in the application. And let's go and do a quick sample of that. Let's go to this customer program, show customers, and let's add to the controller, let's go and add a bool column, show phone. I'm specifically doing this because I'm imagining there is, instead of so forth, user can see phone. I'm specifically doing it from the code because I want to demonstrate a situation when the user doesn't have the privilege to see something, and I want to show you how the column visible also handles that very well. So let's go choose a checkbox and bind its data to the user can see form, and actually I want to call it user can see phone. So let's fix it. And last but not least, let's go and add a property here. Let's bind the visible to show the phone based on the controller dot user can see phone. Okay, so now that we run this, the phone column is not visible, and it's also not visible in the list of optional columns. If we click on the checkbox, now we can see the phone, it will become visible here in the list. If I remove it here, click it off and click it back on, I will not see it. So that means that the visible conditions that you determine in the code take precedence over the visible conditions that the user have in the select column option, which is also important and cool. So we've added that. We've added also the ability to save these settings. Let me show you how it's done. There's a user state identifier property that saves all the form size, column order, column width, and that. So let's do it. My state, and it's saved in an XML file in the user directory. So now, for example, if I resize a column, I'll exit the screen and return to it, the column resizing is kept. And if I choose to hide a column, I'll exit and return to it, that column will stay hidden. And the user can then select it back. So now it is saving everything, and it's responsive to conditions in the code, and all of that is great. Now, another option that this introduces is the ability to add optional columns for the user to choose by itself. So I can go ahead and say, let's add a horizontal scroll bar, and then let's add some columns here. And I'll choose over the phone, let's have region, postal code, country, and fax. Okay. Now, after I've added all of these columns, which I obviously don't want to see all the time, I can mark them as user visible equals false. So user visible reflects the way the user selected it in the column selection. And when I run this, and I open the screen, these columns are not visible, but they're available for the user to add on its own. Okay, so this way you can give your users a very easy way of adding columns, removing columns, selecting them, and giving them other optional columns so they are completely in control of what they want to do. Now, this is the functionality of it, and for those of you who are using Firefly version that are after January 22nd, you already have it in your code. But for those of you who have an older version, let me show you the change histories that has caused this. So to make this change, we've touched several files. Grid column, and here's the changes in grid column. So this is grid column in env, of course, all of these changes are in env. We've added the management of user visible, developer visible, and regular visible. And there are some tricks here. What we wanted to do here is to figure out whether the change to the visible property was made by the user or by the developer. So any change to the visible property, if it wasn't made by the user, okay, it is saved as the developer visible and alerts the developer visible changed event. Okay? And if it is changed by the user visible, then we set the user visible change developer visible. So when it goes to this code is skipped, and we know that it's a user change and not a developer change. Now the ultimate visible value is according to the developer visible and the user visible. So this set of code here added the user visible property and managed to distinguish between changes that happen due to the user or due to the developer. So just add this piece of code to the grid column in env. Next, let's have a look at the grid itself. In the grid itself, we've changed the part that determines and creates the toolstrip menu. First of all, we treated it as an env UI grid column instead of a Firefly box UI grid column because we wanted the user visible properties that we've just added. We made sure that the column will be checked according to the user visible, and we also made sure that when the grid column developer visible changed or user visible changed, it will affect the toolstrip item. And also we changed that whenever you click the toolstrip item, the user visible will change itself. And furthermore, in the grid column helper, again, we changed it from Firefly box grid to env grid, so we'll have the properties we've added in env. And we added an extra entry in the column menu, saying hide column equals to grid column user visible equals to false. So this line of code is in charge of the hide column option. So all of this, as you can see, is source code in env that you can change and control and add yourself. So these are the changes that we've made to the grid. Again, everything is in env. And last but not least, the changes to the form that are about saving. So in the form, we had a column state object that used to save the name, width, index. Now it also saves the user visible. And it is loading it to the grid column when I'm loading, and saving it to the object when I'm saving. That's it. That's all the changes you need to do to add the user visible functionality and the ability to save, and the precedence code that makes sure that the developer visible always overrides the user visible, and giving your users optional columns. Thanks you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to comment.